What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to From the Bench. I'm your host, Will Meadows, and welcome to our Monday edition. Before I get anything started, make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow all of the social links down below. Also, comment what you felt about the game this past Saturday. So let's just get right into it. Before I say anything, I want to add, my voice might sound a little different. I lost at the game this past Saturday yelling, so I have a apple juice here with me that I might need to get a drink or two of in the midst of talking, and I may need to clear my throat throughout the episode, so bear with me there. It's a little authenticity of being a Vol fan, but I can't really help it. I've drank some tea since Saturday night, trying to get rid of it. Hopefully it's not for that long. Hopefully it doesn't go into tomorrow for the next episode, but let's get right into it. The Vols won against the Florida Gators this past Saturday in an overtime nail-biter. I think I'm happy as a Vols fan. Obviously, ugly, and I see so many people complaining about how ugly it was. But do people not realize, we've only beat them, 3 times since 2002? Or is that what it is? Or maybe 2004? Yeah, 2004. I think that's the right year. Again, that's only the third time I've seen them since I've been born. So, I don't understand that aspect of it because, guys, we beat Florida. It doesn't matter. Do we not remember how much better of a team we were than them last year and we still lost? Be happy with the win. And we're 5-1. Do we not remember where we were at pre-Heupel? I've never seen a Tennessee fan base be upset with 5-1 in a win against Florida. I mean, it baffles me. But I'm happy with it. It was ugly. But I think I saw a lot of pros from this game. I'm going to read some of the stats, the standout stats for the game. Nico Iamaleava didn't have his best game. I think we can all say that. But I saw some progression. Rolling out of the pocket, made some good throws. He was 16 of 26 on all of his attempts passing. He had 169 yards passing, 0 touchdowns, an interception, and a fumble. Not his best game, but I see growth. I mean, he's going to have his growing pains. I think the thing with Nico right now, he's young. And I feel like he doesn't really, he telegraphs a lot of his passes. I feel like he kind of knows where he wants to throw it. And that's typical for a lot of young quarterbacks. But especially in his interception, that throw over the middle to Chris Brazil, he stared that skinny post down the middle of the field the whole way. So I think he looked better. He looked a little more comfortable. Again, the O-line's not doing him any favors, and we'll get into that later. But I don't hate it from Nico. Dylan Sampson, obviously the player of the game. I mean, that man is ridiculous. He had 27 attempts for 112 yards and 3 touchdowns, including the game winner. He also tagged along 2 receptions for 7 yards, and Dylan Sampson is playing as good as any running back in the country right now outside of Ashton Jeanty. And I don't think people realize, if Dylan Sampson keeps up with this pace, any year that Ashton Jeanty isn't a football player playing college football, he'd be a Heisman runner because they're not going to have 2 running backs in the Heisman race, obviously. But, if you compare his stats to, Derrick Henry, who was the last running back to win it, Dylan Sampson is looking really good. And also, I think I looked at it today, he's at 15 touchdowns on the year. I think the single-season record is 18 for Tennessee. So, I mean, he's 3 away, and we're only halfway through the year. We still have 6 games left. So that's huge for him. And I think I saw he's only 9 away from the all-time record in his career, from tying it, which is just absolutely crazy because when you look through that list, he's only played, 2.5 years now? And one of those being his freshman year, and last year he was the running back 3. This is his first year with a workhorse load. So really 2.5 years, and he is already 9 away from that. Everybody else on that list is a 4-year guy who played a good bit all their 4 years. So credit to him. I mean, he is putting on a show for the Vols right now. He looks like a different animal. Our leading receiver was Squirrel White, 5 catches for 71 yards. He had that big one in the fourth quarter. It didn't really amount to anything, obviously, but great catch by him. He played good. I love getting Nico out on the run because obviously he can throw it on the run. He's accurate. He's quick. He gets it out fast. He's a good on-the-run thrower. And I love seeing that from the offense, getting him out. And we threw it 2 or 3 times, the kind of an angle out route to the sideline. Great play. He played good. I was worried he was a little shaken up after that play, but after the view, he was right back on the field. So good for him. And he was questionable earlier in the week with a shoulder or collarbone issue. So glad to see him 100%. A guy that I told, he didn't have the biggest game, obviously. He only had 2 receptions for 10 yards. But me and Eric on the last episode talked about I wanted to see Ethan Davis in the game a little more. Vertical threat. Probably our best receiving tight end, or how would I put this? Like, he's built to be our best receiving tight end. He's quicker. He's put on a lot of weight since he got here. He was more of a receiver in high school. But he got a lot of run. I'm glad to see him on the field. I think the offense, obviously in the first half, horrendous. I mean, 0 points in the first half against Florida. Like, that's not going to cut it. But the second half, it didn't look bad. Like, I thought the play calling was a lot better. And I still see some people complaining about the play calling. I'm not saying he went out there and called a perfect game, but it was definitely better. The shots down the field, and people got to realize, like, a lot of the inability to get deep shots stems from protection. Like, the O-line has been horrendous. It's the worst part of the team to date. So hopefully the O-line can get it going, start playing together, playing better together, and hopefully, sorry, 1 second. Hopefully, Lance Hurd can kind of get his feet out of the mud. And John Campbell, I mean, he played awful on Saturday. And then he does dumb stuff like that unsportsmanlike conduct after the interception. Like, stuff like that is just ridiculous to me, man. Like, if you're getting worked, you don't have any right to go push somebody and talk mess. I mean, that's just ridiculous to me. But I thought the play, again, like I said, those rollouts to Squirrel White, we saw some passes over the middle. We had Nico threw Chris Brazell a hospital ball that he still came down with, which was not a very good decision. Good throw, good catch. A great catch, may I add. But we're seeing some downfield stuff. We had some hitches at the sticks. Like, those were good plays. I'm happy to see more of those getting called, and those will just get better with more reps and more offense. The offensive line playing better. Like, that'll get better. So that's why, again, obviously the first half was ugly. The whole game was ugly. But it's trending in the right direction, in my opinion. I think it's going to get better. It all stems from the protection. Obviously, we have one of the best run games in the country. Deshaun Bishop's a great player. Obviously, he didn't do a ton last night, but, I mean, nothing against him. He's still a great player. Dylan Sampson is just playing on a different level right now. Josh Heupel, the only call I didn't like all game, like, there was one in the first half where we ran it on 3rd and 14 with Nico's heels in the checkerboard. Like, that's smart. The whole Neyland Stadium boos, like, that's just people not realizing. Like, it's 3rd and 14 because your protection has been bad. Like, just get out of that situation. Don't risk a safety and intentional grounding in the end zone leading to a safety. Like, don't risk that. The only one I didn't really care for, and, hey, if there was a lot to complain about last weekend in the play calling, so the only one that I really didn't care for was right after our touchdown drive to go up 17-10. We had got the ball back, and I was saying in the stands, Heupel, please don't come out conservative because you're up 1 score, because he's been doing that all year. He threw it on first. He threw it on first down. He threw it on second down, both incomplete. So then it's 3rd and 10. If you're going to be aggressive on first and second, like, go for the 3rd down too. Like, be aggressive on 3rd down too. Like, if you get that, you can start running the ball and chewing clock. And he ran it right up the middle on 3rd and 10. I wasn't a fan of that, and the people around me in the stands heard that I wasn't a fan of that. But that's my only. I'm not nitpicking anything. Again, it's a win against Florida. We knew it was going to be ugly, and he came out with a win. And it was, who cares? On the defensive end, Omar Norman-Lott had a great game. He's our best, I think, interior defensive lineman, pass rusher-wise. I mean, he was getting after it. He had a sack and a half on Saturday. James Pierce had a great game. Again, like, people like keep trying to say, well, James Pierce has been kind of underwhelming. And to a point, that's true, but just because he's not filling up the sack stat sheet, like, he is still getting after the quarterback, hurries, pressures, you name it. He had a half a sack on Saturday, and he also forced a fumble. He also had 4 tackles. So great game by James Pierce. He recovered his own fumble too. So good game by James Pierce. Arion Carter had an interception. It was a big momentum shift, tied the game. or tied the game for us. Just a great play by Arion Carter. Boo Carter had a sack, the other Carter. So I think Boo Carter for years to come is going to be a weapon in this offense because he's a different level of fast. And when they bring him on third down off the edge, I mean, it's like a little kid just stole something from you. Like he's gone. Like he is gone. So good game from Boo Carter. The defense is ridiculous. The fact that I was telling one of my buddies this, the fact that they only gave up 3 points in the first half was absolutely, I was so relieved, and I was just at a loss of words almost because our offense did absolutely no favors. It was 3 and out after 3 and out. It felt like they were on the field the whole first half. And for us to only give up 3 points, came up huge in the red zone time and time again. I mean, the defense is on another level. Getting after the quarterback, those boys are different. I thought that Jermod McCoy played really well. I thought Will Brooks played all right. Jerron McCoy is a really good safety, or a really good DB. Ricky Gibson, I think he struggles a little bit tackling, but Ricky Gibson played a really good second half. DB opposite to Jerron McCoy. He had a great second half, and he's another guy like Jerron McCoy and Ricky Gibson are both only sophomores. And Jerron McCoy played a lot last year at Oregon State, was a freshman All-American. But Ricky Gibson hardly ever saw the field, if at all, last year. These guys are only going to get better with time. Will Brooks is old as crap, but he's never played. So, and Boo Carter's a freshman. All these guys are going to get better. The only guy with a little bit of experience, especially in the program, obviously Will Brooks is experienced in the program, but Andre Turrentine, he's seen reps. Obviously the transfer from Ohio State a few years back, but Andre Turrentine got ran flat over on one of the plays at the 50-yard line. It was, got to get lower on the tackle. Can't get your feet in the mud. You got to drive them towards them. You can't just play complacent, and when you let them come to you, that's when it usually ends badly. So the defense just A+, came up big in overtime too. Bryson Eason with the big play in overtime with the tackle for loss on their running back. The defense is different. On that note, I hope Keenan Peely is all right. Very scary sight. They had to low-key help him up. I don't know what the injury is, head, neck, back. I don't know. It was a scary sight. I hope he's all right because obviously he just won the from the bench defensive mid-season MVP last 2 episodes ago. So I hope he's all right. He's he's like the quarterback of the defense. He's got the green dot on. He is huge for us. So hopefully he's all right. That's all I really have to say about the game yesterday. I will say this too. The atmosphere. The first half, it's got to be, obviously it was a good atmosphere, but to Neyland standards, I didn't think it was at all. It was a reactive crowd, not a proactive crowd. When we were doing good, it was great. When we were doing bad, not so much. People sitting down, nobody. After the Nico fumble, or the Nico interception, it was just, you could hear a pin drop almost. It was, in the second half was a lot better than the first half, and for good reason, but that's what I mean. But you can't be reactive. You got to be proactive. You got to be loud all the time. So it should be an electric atmosphere next weekend with the third Saturday in October. I'm ready for that game. I hope people don't get too caught up. This is being recorded on a Sunday, so the AP poll came out earlier yesterday. I hope people don't get too caught up in us dropping 3 spots. I think 2 of those 3 teams that got put ahead of us are better than us right now. We're not playing good football right now. And hopefully that changes, and hopefully we get better because, again, we're a young team. I talked about the defense being young. The helm of it all, Nico Iamaleava, is still really young. He's a redshirt freshman, and he's still figuring it out just like everybody else is. So hopefully that gets better. But I think LSU is better than us right now, and I think Clemson's better than us right now. I don't think either of them are a large margin better than us. I don't think Iowa State's better than us right now. I was surprised that BYU didn't jump us from all the way back at 14 or wherever they were at. Iowa State kind of was rocky against West Virginia, who's an all-right football team this past weekend. And everybody's getting so caught up in why did we drop and Bama didn't move? Like, we both were at home against an inferior opponent and both escaped. Do people not remember what happened 3 weeks ago? Like, Alabama has a win against Georgia right now, who is the 4th-ranked team in the country now. No, the 5th-ranked team in the country. Or one of them. I think it's 4 or 5. It's either them or Ohio State that's 4 or 5. But they have a very, very, very good win. And Vanderbilt's a good football team. But that doesn't, so is Arkansas. But they have a very good win. We don't have a good win right now. We beat Oklahoma, who was ranked when we played them. NC State was ranked when we played them. NC State is horrendous. But Oklahoma is, especially after what Texas just did to them. I was watching that game at 3:30 praying that I was praying that they'd at least play in it a little bit so it'd make our win look a little better. But, it just wasn't at all. I mean, Oklahoma's not very good. Their offense was pitiful against us. But don't get too caught up in us dropping 3 spots. We're still the 11th-ranked team in the country at 5-1, and we just beat our biggest rival who we can never, ever beat. So live in that moment. And, hey, the offer's right here on the table. You go beat Alabama, and you jump right back to 7. This is a big weekend because you can jump to 7, and Penn State is going to choke. Cause this could happen all this week. I don't know who Penn State plays this week. I feel like it may be a bye week. Not for sure, but Penn State will choke at some point. Miami will choke at some point. They've got Louisville next week, who is their biggest test yet. And if Texas beats up on Georgia, like if you win, you could realistically jump back to 5. Like, It's that big of a deal on Saturday, and I know everybody was kind of bummed when we both lost because it kind of lost us our chance at game day. But now the stakes are even higher. It's not a night game, but it's 3:30. That place will still be rocking, obviously. It's the 3rd Saturday in October. I hope we orange it out like we did 2 years ago when we won. But the stakes are higher. If you lose this, like, the college football playoffs could be off the table. So it should be a great game, a great atmosphere on Knoxville. I thought the atmosphere on Saturday was great. Could have been better to Neyland standards. The term Neyland loud, it could have been a little more Neyland loud. But, again, just happy with how the game went because, again, it's a win against Florida who we never beat. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. No matter how good we are, how bad they are, we don't ever beat them. But that being said, there's obviously a ton of improvement to be made at the quarterback position and the offensive line. I feel like the receivers played better this week. For sure. Brew didn't have a catch, which is kind of he had a run for 8 yards, 6 yards. So that doesn't suck because, hey, we won. But I also don't know what was wrong with Dante Thornton. I know he was earlier in the week last week. He was on the injury report as questionable, and he didn't play hardly. I don't even know if he got a snap from quarter 1 to 3. But then we have him in late in the 4th quarter, and then in overtime, which good. I think he's the second or third best receiver on the team right now. But if he's not healthy enough to go from the 1st and 3rd, which is the only reason why I think he wouldn't play in the first through the 3rd quarter, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd quarter, because he's been playing great for us this year. That's the only reason I can imagine he wouldn't play. But I don't know how he doesn't play from the 1st to the 3rd quarter, but then plays when it matters most. And he made a huge catch on the last drive in overtime, got us to the 2-yard line. Then we ran and scored, won the game. So I'm glad he did, but I wonder what the deal was there. I don't know. Maybe he did something in practice. Maybe he acted out. Because I don't remember. I don't know if they ever disclosed why he was questionable. But I'm glad he made a big play down the stretch. But I hope he gets a little more involved next week, as we're going to need some big plays. And I think it's another thing. It'll just with reps, the deep plays will come. We missed on. It was I don't know if it was an overthrow to Squirrel. Good ball, just couldn't come down with it. The deep ball to Chaz Nimrod was a pass interference. They didn't call it because there was no hands action, but you can't. He got tripped by the other player's foot. That's pass interference. And then it was just a deep crosser, the one to Chaz Nimrod in the fourth quarter, and he just dropped it really bad. So, again, those will get better with reps and timing, and because that's the first time we've really gone deep with in the air. Like, obviously, we had the big play with Dante Thornton against Oklahoma, but, I mean, that was a 20, 25-yard throw and go. But in the air, like, obviously Nico has a cannon. So, again, those will get better with timing, with more reps. And, again, it's all going to be on the offensive line. Like, if the offensive line can hold up long enough for somebody to get that far down the field. So, that's my thoughts on the Florida game. Again, it's a win. A win is a win is a win. And it's against the Florida Gators, and I hate Florida. So, there's not much you can complain about. But thank you guys for watching the Monday edition of From the Bench. Again, make sure you guys subscribe, like the video, and follow all of our social media handles. With all that being said, see you guys tomorrow on the next episode, and go Vols.